If you're looking for a crossover SUV, but you also want one that can handle a little bit of light off-roading, then Mazda wants you to take a look at their new CX-50. It's roughly the same size as the CX-5, has roughly the same amount of interior space, same features, looks pretty similar too. So could this CX-50 be replacing the CX-5? Is it good enough to do that? Let's go for a drive and find out. So the Mazda CX-50 has the same two engines that are available in the Mazda CX-5, a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter four-cylinder and a turbocharged 2.5-liter four-cylinder. The base engine produces 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. And in all honesty, for city driving and even highway commutes, the base engine is more than enough. It has plenty of punch and plenty of get up and go. But of course, if you do want more power, then you go for the turbo engine, which is what I have here in this demo vehicle. It is capable of producing upwards of 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque on premium fuel, and 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque on regular fuel. This 2.5 turbo is a beast of an engine. With 320 pound-feet of torque, it just has power pretty much every time that you put your foot down. Turbocharger spools up right away, it makes good noises, and honestly, it's pretty fuel efficient for the amount of power and torque that it produces. With this turbo engine and all-wheel drive, the CX-50 is rated for 10.4 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 8.1 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. And you know what? Those figures are very achievable. I've been averaging about 9.5 liters per 100 kilometers on a combined cycle. One thing that is new with this Mazda CX-50 that other Mazdas don't have, and I'm pretty sure that this is the first Mazda vehicle to have this feature, which also helps with fuel economy, is iStop, which is basically auto start stop. It's not the smoothest form of auto start stop because whenever the engine turns back on, it's a pretty big jolt. However, it's nice to have it, especially at longer stoplights. And of course, with this engine and also the base 2.5 liter, the transmission is a 6-speed automatic. Pretty good transmission, nothing wrong with it, shifts nice and smoothly, and also pretty responsive if you decide to use the paddle shifters. The 2023 Mazda CX-50 is a little bit wider than the CX-5. From behind the steering wheel though, it's hard to notice any sort of difference in cornering ability of the CX-50 compared to the CX-5. The CX-50 feels and drives like a Mazda vehicle. Steering is sharp and communicative, for an SUV that is. What is evident is the overall width. Thankfully, the CX-50 is not as wide as a dually pickup truck, but it is about as wide as a luxury compact SUV. This being an off-road focused vehicle, it has an off-road drive mode that changes some of the SUV's parameters such as engine idle or throttle response. Depending on which wheels are optioned with the CX-50, 17-inch or 20-inch, the ground clearance, approach, departure, and breakover angles are different. This CX-50 Turbo with the 20-inch wheels has 8.6 inches of ground clearance, 19-degree approach angle, 25-degree departure angle, and 18-degree breakover angle. However, the tires are not off-road focused like the ones on the Honda Passport Trailsport, for example. These are still very much all-season street tires. Like many other Mazda vehicles, the CX-50 provides a supple ride. It's not as soft as the ride of the Kia Sportage, for example, but bumps are soaked up by the suspension without feeling too harsh into the seat. The car also has a fairly quiet cabin with few outside noises intruding into it. Engine noise is a bit evident when accelerating from a stop, but Mazda's four-cylinders sound pretty good and I actually don't mind the engine tone. Wind noise is minimal, as is road noise, thanks to the fact that the CX-50's tires are not off-road focused. Compared to the Mazda CX-5, the CX-50 has more legroom in these back seats as well as the front seats. But as you can clearly see, it has less headroom. My hair is right up against the headliner. In the front, it's not so bad because I personally like to have the driver's seat in its lowest position, so for headroom, I really can't complain. I have more than enough. But here in the back, I do have to hunch just a little bit. But one thing that the CX-5 doesn't have is the panoramic sunroof. This lets in a lot of light. Further behind the seats, the Mazda CX-50 has a little bit more cargo volume than the Mazda CX-5, but only with the back seats in their upright position. As soon as you fold them down, then it's actually the Mazda CX-5 that has more cargo volume. But still, this is a pretty decent amount. If you want to tow stuff, then you probably want to get this one with the turbo engine because it is rated for 3,500 pounds, whereas the CX-5 with the turbo engine is only rated for 2,000 pounds. Also with the base engine in the CX-50, it too is rated for 2,000 pounds of towing. The Mazda CX-50 starts at just over $38,000 Canadian and can go up to about $48,000 Canadian. That is quite a bit of a price jump from the Mazda CX-5, which starts at around $31,000 and can go up to about $44,000. Now, Mazda is trying to go upmarket and compete against the likes of Acura rather than Hyundai. So the price does actually make sense when you compare it against something like an Acura, but the Mazda CX-50 has the exact same features as the Mazda CX-5. It has Nappa leather, heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, heated steering wheel, dual zone automatic climate control, wireless phone charging, panoramic sunroof. Well, actually no, it doesn't have, the CX-5 doesn't have the panoramic sunroof, but it does have a sunroof. They also both have power lift gates, head-up displays, surround view cameras, LED headlights, parking sensors, just a lot of the same features. So why is the CX-50 almost $4,000 more expensive, on the top end that is, than the CX-5? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But one thing that the CX-5 doesn't have, apart from the panoramic sunroof, is, well, just come, I want to show you in the inside. It's this, not the infotainment system, because the infotainment system is the same between both cars. No, the CX-50 has a touchscreen. Yay! So the touch portion only works when you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. When you're using the native infotainment system, then you still have to use the rotary control down here on the center console. But it's totally fine because this was designed to work with the infotainment system. But I'm just glad that I no longer have to use this when I'm using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. I can actually use the touchscreen because those apps were designed to work with a touchscreen rather than a rotary knob. Mind you, it is a bit of a stretch, but honestly, the fact that I can now properly use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto is far better than needing to stretch. In Canada, the 2023 Mazda CX-50 has a lot of driver and safety aids as standard, but not all of them are available on the base trim. To get features such as surround view cameras, front and rear parking sensors, emergency lane keep with blind spot sensors, adaptive front lights, automatic rear emergency braking, and traffic sign assist, you have to move up to the GT trim. Should you get into an accident, the Mazda CX-50 will do a good job of protecting you and your family. It scored well in crash tests conducted by the IIHS, which is why it earned a Top Safety Pick Plus award. Undoubtedly, Mazda will eventually kill off the CX-5 and replace it with the CX-50, just like how they did with the CX-30 and the CX-3. But like I said earlier in the video, I can't quite put my finger on why this CX-50 is quite a bit more expensive than the CX-5, because this still drives like a Mazda vehicle, it feels like a Mazda vehicle, and it's equipped like other Mazda vehicles, and yet it's quite a bit more expensive than the CX-5. Maybe, like I said earlier in the video as well, it's because Mazda wants to move up in the market. They want to compete against the likes of Acura, Genesis, or maybe even Lexus, in which case the price does make sense. But against the CX-5, it's quite a bit more money. Either way, this is through and through a Mazda vehicle, which means that it's really good and I do like it. If you want to know more about this 2023 Mazda CX-50, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.